What if I told you that the biggest threat to your success isn't failure, laziness, or bad luck? It's something so quiet, so invisible, so completely normal that you've been doing it every single day without realizing it. It doesn't look dangerous. It feels comfortable. In fact, it feels like rest. But it's stealing from you every single day. Stay with me because by the end of this, you won't be able to unsee it. Chapter 1: The Comfortable Trap. Bill was not a failure. That's the important thing to understand about him. He was not lazy. He was not untalented. He was not unlucky. In fact, by most measures, Bill was doing fine. He had a degree, a job, a routine. He woke up every morning at 7:30, made tea, scrolled his phone for 40 minutes, went to work, came home, watched something on his laptop, went asleep. Weekends he slept in, visited family, ordered food, repeated. It was a decent life, a safe life. But Bill had a secret, one he barely admitted to himself. He was disappearing. Not physically, not dramatically, but slowly, steadily. The person he had imagined becoming when he was 19 years old was fading, like a photograph left in the sun. The version of Bill who was going to start a business, who was going to become financially free, who was going to learn another language, who was going to be different from everyone else in his family who had settled, that version was getting further away every year. And the strange thing, Bill wasn't doing anything wrong. That was exactly the problem. Chapter 2: What Comfort Actually Costs. There is a common belief that the enemy of progress is failure. We talk about failure constantly, how to handle it, how to bounce back from it, how to reframe it. Every motivational speech, every success story, every YouTube video is about someone who failed and then succeeded. But Bill hadn't failed. He'd never tried hard enough to fail. And that, it turns out, is far more dangerous. Because failure gives you information. Failure means you launched, you risked, you put something real into the world and it didn't work yet. Failure is movement that went in the wrong direction. You can correct direction. But staying comfortable is standing perfectly still while the world moves without you. There's no drama, no visible loss, no moment where you realize something went wrong. Just a slow, quiet drift the way a boat without an anchor drifts, gently, imperceptibly, until it's nowhere near where it started. The silent habit destroying Bill's future was not procrastination. It was not distraction. It was not laziness. It was the habit of choosing comfort over discomfort, every single time, without exception. When he could have gone to a networking event, he stayed home because it seemed awkward. When he could have applied for a better job, he didn't because they probably wouldn't hire me anyway. When he could have started reading, he watched a show because he was tired from work. When he could have practiced the skill he'd been meaning to learn for 2 years, he scrolled instead because just 5 minutes. Each choice individually was harmless. Collectively, they were building a prison, a very comfortable, very invisible prison. Chapter 3: The Science of the Comfort Zone and Why It's Lying to You. Your brain has one primary function that overrides almost everything else: keeping you safe. Not happy, not successful, not fulfilled, safe. And your brain, which evolved tens of thousands of years ago on a very dangerous planet, has not fully adapted to the modern world. It still treats social risk the way it once treated physical risk. Asking for a promotion feels like fighting a lion. Starting a business feels like jumping off a cliff. Saying something in a meeting feels like stepping into unknown territory. So your brain fires the same warning signal it would fire if you were actually in danger. Stay where you are. The known is safe. The unknown is threat. This is the neuroscience of the comfort zone. It is not a motivational metaphor. It is an actual biological mechanism, and it is working against you every single day. But here is the part your brain doesn't tell you. Discomfort is not danger. The anxiety you feel before doing something new is not a warning to stop. It is a signal that you are at the edge of your current capacity and about to expand it. Every time you walk through that discomfort, not over it, not around it, but through it, your brain physically updates itself. New neural pathways form. What was once uncomfortable becomes familiar. What was once terrifying becomes routine. This is why athletes train in conditions harder than the competition. Why pilots practice in simulators designed to fail. Why every person who has ever built something extraordinary had to first become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Comfort is not the destination. It is a rest stop. You are allowed to visit. You are not meant to live there. Chapter 4. The Day Bill Noticed. Bill had a cousin named Cameron. They were the same age, grew up in the same neighborhood, went to the same school, had access to the same opportunities or the same lack of them. But 5 years after university, Cameron had built a small but growing e-commerce business. He was not rich, not yet, but he was moving. He woke up early. He was always reading something. He took meetings that scared him. He launched things that failed and launched new things after. Bill watched Cameron's progress from a careful distance. Not jealously, or at least he told himself it wasn't jealousy. He called it good for him. But one evening, sitting in his comfortable chair with his comfortable tea watching a comfortable show, a question surfaced from somewhere deep and honest in him. When did Cameron and I become different people? Because they hadn't started out different. If anything, Bill had been more academically talented, more articulate. More people said he had potential back when they were young. So what happened? Bill thought about it seriously, maybe for the first time. And the answer he arrived at was uncomfortable precisely because it didn't involve bad luck or circumstance or anything he could point to outside himself. The difference was the choices Cameron had made, not the big ones, not the dramatic crossroads moments, but the small ones, the invisible ones. The choice, repeated over years, to do the hard thing instead of the easy one, to feel the discomfort and proceed anyway. That was it. That was the whole difference. And sitting in that comfortable chair, Bill felt the chair differently, not cozy, confining. Chapter 5. Breaking the Habit 1 Degree at a Time. Now, here is the critical moment in every story like this. The one where the person has the realization and then makes a dramatic change. Bill did not make a dramatic change. He made a 1-degree change. Because that is, in reality, how human beings actually change. Not in explosions, in tiny, consistent redirections. 1 degree of change held for long enough takes you to a completely different destination. Here is what a 1-degree change looked like for Bill. He stopped scrolling his phone for 40 minutes every morning. Not forever, he didn't make some grand declaration. Just tomorrow morning. Instead, he opened a page in his Notes app and he wrote 3 things he wanted to do that were slightly outside his comfort zone that week. Not start a business, not change my life, 3 small uncomfortable things. 1. Reply to a LinkedIn message from someone at a company he wanted to work at, a message he'd been ignoring for 3 weeks because it felt intimidating. 2. Go to a workshop he'd bookmarked 6 months ago and never attended. 3. Spend 30 minutes each evening learning something he'd been meaning to learn for 2 years. Uncomfortable, all 3 of them. He did all 3. Nothing magical happened immediately. The LinkedIn reply got a response, and then a short conversation. The workshop was awkward at first and then interesting. The 30 minutes of learning felt slow and frustrating. But a week later, he added 3 more. And a week after that, 3 more. Not a revolution, a rhythm. And slowly, the way a ship changes course slowly, the way the redirect is invisible until you look at the destination, Bill started going somewhere. Chapter 6. What the uncomfortable life actually feels like. Let me be honest with you about something. The uncomfortable life does not feel like a motivational video. It doesn't feel exciting every day. It doesn't always feel purposeful. It doesn't come with a soundtrack. Some days it feels tedious. Some days the discomfort is just that, uncomfortable, not enlightening, not inspiring, just hard. But there is a quality of aliveness to it that the comfortable life cannot touch. When you are growing, really growing, not just talking about growing, you feel more present in your own life because you are choosing it, actively, consciously, daily, not drifting, not being carried, choosing. And there is a kind of pride in that, not arrogance, not ego, but a quiet, personal pride in being someone who does the hard things. Someone who, when the decision comes between easy and meaningful, chooses meaningful. Not every time, no one manages every time, but enough times. Enough times to become a different person. Bilal told me, or rather, the Bilals I've known told me, that the strangest thing about leaving the comfort zone was how quickly it stopped feeling uncomfortable. That the thing that seemed terrifying at the beginning became ordinary within weeks, and that the new ordinary was better, bigger, more alive. Epilogue: the question. So here is the question this audiobook leaves you with. Not what do you want to achieve? That's too big, too abstract, too easy to defer. The question is, what one uncomfortable thing have you been avoiding? Not for years, just this week, just today. What is the thing that lives in the corner of your mind? The email you haven't sent, the conversation you've been avoiding, the skill you've been meaning to start, the application you haven't filed, that your comfort-seeking brain has successfully kept you from every time. That thing. Do it tomorrow. Not the whole journey, not the whole change, not the life overhaul, just that one thing. Because your future is not built in moments of inspiration. It's built in moments of choice, 1 degree at a time, one discomfort at a time. The comfortable life is easy to live, but it is a very hard thing to look back on. Choose the harder, better thing. Your future self will know the difference.